This video is going to cover two methods of solving a very specific kind of problem. It's called the consecutive number problem. Let's talk about what consecutive number means. It just means whole numbers in a row. So let me give you a few examples. Three consecutive numbers, 45, 46. So whole numbers are like counting numbers. We could also have four consecutive even numbers. So we're skipping over the odd numbers, 122, 124, 126, 128. Three consecutive odd numbers. So in this case, all of the numbers are odd and they increase by 2 as we move to the right. So just to make sure that everybody understands what we mean by consecutive numbers and whether they're even or odd. Those will be part of these problems. Here's a problem example. What is the first of four consecutive odd numbers that total 189? These problems will give you the number total. These are intended to be an equation problem, and that's why they show up in the equations section of the Kaplan book. And what they want you to do is to build an equation and then solve for the variable. But there's a much easier way. But I'd like you to see both. So I am going to do both methods. We'll start with the harder way. All right, this is that method. We are going to assign a variable x to our first number. We're going to let x be the first number in this consecutive list. Now, if we're going to add another odd number, we're going to have to skip a number. So our next number, we could say, would be x plus 2, two numbers away from x. Our third number would then be x plus 4. And this must all be equal to 189. You can see how we've built an equation out of this now. Now we could combine like terms. X, x, and x, these are all like terms. Those would combine to give us 3x. And 2 and 4, positive 2, positive 4 would combine to give us plus 6. This is why we learned about combining like terms. And that's all going to be equal to 189. Now we have to use our skills for solving equations. We're going to do the opposite to both sides. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. That gives us 3x equals 183. And then last step, we divide both sides by what x is being multiplied by. That's 3. That cancels this out, and we are left with x equals 61. Now remember, that was the first number in our list. And we're talking about three consecutive odd numbers. So our numbers must be 61, 63, and 65. Notice that I skipped 62 because that's an even number. I skipped 64 because that's an even number. Now we have our list, and we were asked, what is the first number? So our answer to this question would be 61. Now, I think you can agree that's kind of a lot of work. A lot of steps to that. Let's talk about an easier way. These are the steps. Divide the total that you've been given by the quantity of numbers. I'm going to go through all the steps and then we will do it for this problem. This is going to quickly find the middle of the numbers, which is very helpful. Once we find the middle of the numbers, we find the other numbers based on that being the middle. We could think of it like numbered doors. Make sure you select the right number, whether they ask for the first or the second or the middle or the last. You don't want to do all of the right work and then answer the question incorrectly because you picked the wrong number. So let's do that for this problem. We're going to start out by dividing 189 by 3 because there's 3 numbers. When we do that, we get the number 63. I encourage you to do that in your calculator. You get 63. Now, the reason I'm showing 3 doors down here is I always, for some reason, think about this like doors. this door must be 63. And we have consecutive odd numbers. So that must mean that the first one is 61 and the last one is 65. Do you see how we've already answered this question? The first of the three doors is 61. That's why I prefer this method. So now I'm going to go through a few more examples using only that simpler method. What is the last of three consecutive even numbers that total 498? So I'm going to keep this picture of three doors in my mind. We're going to start out by dividing 498 by 3. Grab your calculator. 498 divided by 3. And we get 166. Now keep in mind that that's just the middle point. I've got my three doors sketched out here, so that must be the middle door. We want to pay attention to what kind of consecutive numbers we're talking about. In this case, they're even. So the even number before this would be 164. And the even number after it would be 168. Now we have our three numbers. Let's go back and see what the question is asking for. What is the last? So we look at our doors. There's the last door. That's our answer. Pretty quick once you get the hang of it. Let's take a look at another one. What is the second of four consecutive numbers that total 358? Okay, we've got our 358. We divide that by the quantity of numbers. In this case, there are 4. 358 divided by 4. Use your calculator. And you get kind of a weird answer for this, 89.5. I wanted to go through one like this. And notice that when we have 4 doors, there isn't a middle. And that's kind of why we get this strange number, but we still want to make use of this number. That number is right in the middle of what we're looking for, and it's still useful, even though it's 89.5. So what is the second of 4 consecutive numbers? We're talking about just consecutive numbers here, not even like in the previous problem, not odd, just consecutive numbers. Let me change my color. So the number before 89.5 is just 89. The number after that is 90. The number before 89 is 88. And the number after 90 is 91. So 4 consecutive numbers. This makes sense. 88, 89, 90, 91. What is the second number? So you want to be really careful with this step. Don't do all of the work and then grab the wrong number. So we take the second number, and our answer to this question would be 89. All right, I hope that was helpful in terms of teaching you a simpler way of solving problems like this. Now it's time for some practice on your own.